Hi everybody, I'm Kyle Bryant with the Friedreich's Ataxia Research Alliance, and I'm here with Dr. Colin Meyer of Reata Pharmaceuticals, here to talk about Reata's interest in FA and their newly launched clinical trial for RTA 408. Dr. Meyer, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little about your role at Reata?
Sure, Kyle. Thanks for the invitation. So I'm the Chief Medical Officer at Reata Pharmaceuticals. I've been with the company a little bit over 12 years, and I'm focused on moving our portfolio of products forward. We work across a wide variety of diseases, and I'm very translationally focused at trying to figure out where best to apply the pharmacology of our compounds to human diseases. So in my role as Chief Medical Officer, I oversee the clinical and medical aspects of our programs.
Okay. So tell me about Reata Pharmaceuticals. What are you guys doing? What do you focus on?
So we have a portfolio of novel drugs that we're developing across several different diseases. And our lead class of drugs we call the antioxidant inflammation modulators. So RTA 408 that we're studying in FA patients is part of that class. And so what the class does is it turns on the body's one of its major pathways that it uses to resolve inflammation, which is oftentimes suppressed in many diseases. And it does that, unlike most drugs which target a specific protein or enzyme within the cell, by targeting basically hundreds of different proteins. And so when our drug is given to people or cells, it induces the NRF2 pathway, which controls the body's endogenous antioxidant and detoxification programs. And it also suppresses the NF-kappa B pathway, which is pro-inflammatory. And so by giving our molecule RTA408 in cells, there's induction of a few hundred proteins that cool off oxidative stress, and there's also suppression of a few hundred genes, which basically results in suppression of inflammation. So on a cellular level, this results in reduced inflammation, reduced oxidative stress, and on an organ level, it promotes improvement in function. And one key insight that we and some of our academic collaborators have had in the past couple of years is that oxidative stress and this type of inflammation is basically associated with what's called mitochondrial dysfunction. So the mitochondria are the power plants of the cell that produce energy so that our nerves and muscles can function properly. And at the heart of many diseases, there's mitochondrial dysfunction. And so the mitochondria don't produce enough energy, and that results in fatigue, reduced quality of life, and reduced physical activity. And so because of that, we're quite interested in FA and other diseases like that have this common phenotype, including patients with mitochondrial myopathies, pulmonary arterial hypertension. We're also developing drugs for cancer and ophthalmic and dermatological conditions.
All right, wow, that's a lot of stuff.
Yes.
A lot of really good stuff. So tell me why FA is such a compelling target for Reata.
So kind of at the core, what our compound does is it suppresses oxidative stress by inducing NRF2. And in FA patients, due to the genetic mutation in frataxin, it's one of the purest forms of oxidative stress in people. And since frataxin basically is located in the mitochondria, and when it's dysfunctional, it induces oxidative stress in the mitochondria. The mitochondria sense this, and they tune down their activity. And typically, NRF2 would counterbalance that by being turned on in the cell, but it's paradoxically suppressed in FA patients. And so FA is very compelling to us because not only could our compounds suppress oxidative stress and help the mitochondria work better, but also researchers have recently shown that certain NRF2 activators can actually turn on frataxin, which, as you know, is also suppressed in FA patients. And so the drug may also be able to partially restore frataxin levels and improve mitochondrial function, which could translate to improvement in physical function, exercise capacity, coordination, mobility, fatigue, and quality of life.
Wow, that sounds really awesome. Are you working with other researchers collaboratively in the FA research community?
Yes, we're working with many. So clinically, Dr. David Lynch at CHOP in Philadelphia is the lead investigator on our clinical study. We're also working with Dr. Subramani at University of Florida, Dr. Wilmot at Emory, as well as Dr. Hoyle at Ohio State University. In preclinical and cell-based models of FA, we're working with Dr. Rob Wilson at Penn, as well as Dr. Gina Cortopassi at UC Davis. And on mitochondrial effects of our drug, we're working with Dr. Andrei Abramov at the Institute of Neurology at University College London and Dr. Albina Dinkova-Kostova at University of Dundee.
Wow, great. Well, it's good to plug you in and let you guys collaborate with all of our great scientists in our research community. So you've explained a little bit about RTA 408. Can you explain how it's being used in other conditions as well as how you're moving it forward for FA?
Yes, so we've done extensive preclinical studies to demonstrate that RTA408 is safe and well tolerated at much higher doses than we're using in our current clinical studies. We've treated preclinical models for up to a year. Clinically, we've been treating cancer patients for so far up to 10 months at doses up to 10 milligrams, which is what the highest dose we'll be studying in our FA study. And so for our FA study, it just begun recently, and so we're just starting to collect data. And so far, everything has gone well.
Okay, great, awesome. So are there known or anticipated benefits of RTA 408 for somebody with FA?
So based upon the preclinical data, using our compounds as well as genetic models to study what activation of NRF2 does to cells in animals, we hypothesized that through induction of NRF2, improvement in mitochondrial function, RTA408 may be able to improve exercise capacity and physical functioning in patients, walking ability, coordination, visual acuity, as well as fatigue levels and quality of life. And so we'll be studying all of those in our clinical study to determine what the drug does.
All right. So what is known about RTA 408, specifically safety and tolerability and potential side effects?
So we've studied RTA408 extensively in preclinical safety studies. We've given RTA408 for up to 1 year at doses that are much higher than are being studied in our FA study. And those dose levels were well tolerated in the animals without any overt adverse events. And so in patients, we've been testing RTA408 in cancer patients for up to 10 months at doses as high as 10 milligrams. And so far, the drug has been well tolerated with only generally mild to moderate adverse events that are unrelated to study drug. In FA patients, we just started our study, and thus far, we haven't seen any unexpected safety signals.
All right. For RTA 408 in FA, you guys just started a clinical trial not too long ago. Tell me about that clinical trial. When did it start? How far along are you guys?
Sure. So we just started it about a month ago. It's designed as a two-part study. Both will assess the safety and efficacy or benefit of RTA408 in FA patients. And both parts require 12 weeks of treatment duration, and they're placebo-controlled so that we can make a rigorous assessment of the data at the end. In the first part of the study, it's more safety-focused, and so we're enrolling cohorts of 8 patients, and so 2 cohorts for a total of 16 patients. The first 8 have already been identified and qualified, and most are actually on study right now. And the second cohort of 8 patients will open up in about a month or so. And once we complete the first part of the study, we'll move into the second part of the study, in which we'll treat up to 36 patients for 12 weeks, and we'll drill down on the efficacy of 408.
So can anyone participate in the RTA 408 study, and what is the inclusion and exclusion criteria?
So since this is a well-controlled study, there's specific requirements that have to be met. And they're pretty broad for most FA patients, but there's a couple limitations. First, since this is our first study in FA patients, the minimum age that's allowed is 16 at most sites. Secondly, since we're testing the exercise capacity in patients, we're requiring patients to be able to sit on a recumbent bike and pedal for a few to up to 10 to 15 minutes. And so they must be able to complete that assessment.
So why did Reata choose exercise as the primary endpoint for the study?
Based upon the pharmacology and the mitochondria being dysfunctional and not being able to produce enough energy, one of the hallmarks of FA is fatigue and reduced exercise capacity. And so based upon the translational data with our compounds in animals, they were able to basically have increased walk distance due to these effects on the mitochondria. So because of that, we decided to test this rigorously in our clinical study and requiring exercise testing to determine if the drug is in fact able to improve physical functioning in FA patients.
Okay. Do you still need volunteers for the study? And if so, how do people find out more so they can get involved?
So we could definitely use additional volunteers for the study. As I mentioned, we've identified the first 8 patients of part 1, but we'll need to fill the second 8 patients in a month or so. Secondly, once we open up the second part of the study, we'll have 36 openings, and so we'll need volunteers for that part of the study. In order to find out information about the study, patients can go to FARA's website or our website to look for information, or also go to clinicaltrials.gov and search for RTA 408 and Friedreich's ataxia, or they can go directly to the sites, CHOP in Philadelphia, University of Florida, Emory and Ohio State University, and they can directly answer questions about the clinical study.
How will we know if the clinical trial is successful?
So we designed the study so that we can assess many different potential effects of our drug in FA patients. In addition to measuring exercise capacity, which I've talked about on a bike, we're also assessing how fast patients can walk 25 feet, how coordinated they are so that they can complete a 9-hole peg test. We're assessing visual acuity, informally assessing fatigue levels and quality of life. And so at the end of the study, we'll hopefully be able to make an assessment and determine which of those parameters are improved with RTA 408.
What's the time frame for the study? Like how long is it going to take to get to the end result and figure out if RTA is doing what we all hope it does?
So we should complete the first part of the study this summer, and we'll hopefully be opening up the second part this summer as well. And we would plan to then release the full results of the study late in 2015 or early 2016.
All right, sounds good. So, Dr. Meyer, we in the FA community are all incredibly impressed with the urgency and the efficiency that you guys have for coming up with the treatment for FA and pushing it through as fast as possible. What has been your experience working with the FA community so far?
And so the experience has been wonderful, and in large part thanks to working with FARA and the FA community, we've been able to move forward so expeditiously. And so FARA helped us initially identify interested investigators, and so we've done that. They then work with us when we're developing the clinical study protocol. Further, they then helped reach out to the community to identify patients who could participate in this study. And as far as the FA community is concerned, they've been amazing as well. They're so cohesive and organized. It's been a pleasure working with them, and they've had interest in our study, and we're looking forward to continuing to work with them as we move our project forward.
Awesome, awesome. Well, on behalf of the community, we just want to thank Reata, and thank you for being so open and sharing everything with us. We want to support your work so much, and we're just grateful for your involvement, and especially coming up, we got this bike ride in Dallas in mid-April, and Reata is going to be a sponsor for that. They're a national sponsor for our whole bike ride program, and we're so grateful, and we're looking forward to seeing Team Reata on the road in April.
Thank you. We'll definitely be there and look forward to working with you and the FA community.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.